Alright, so we took a little pit stop to get some fuel. We're doing what they call the Eureka Springs backroads route. We're probably about 60 or 70 miles in. I think it's like 140 miles altogether. And really nice roads. Back here I can see that's a really nice house. Oh, I guess it's a lodge. You can see the appeal with motorcyclists. The roads are nice and smooth and clean, and nice sweeping turns. So originally I was, in the first video I said I'd talk about when I wrecked the motorcycle, and up until I was 19 or 20, I was almost moved out of my house or close to it. I was working at a printing place, and up until that point I'd rode the mini bikes and dirt bikes, stuff like that. Wanted a street bike, my mom said no, and it was probably a really smart thing for her to say that anyway. So I had actually a co-worker that was selling a Yamaha Maxima. I think it was like a 650, I think that's what those are. Pretty decently fast for the day. And I wanted to take it for a test drive before I was going to buy it. And anyway, I lived in South St. Louis, and I worked in North County at the time. I wasn't real familiar with the area. So I go taking off on that bike, ripping through the roads and streets and stuff, and get on what looked like a pretty well-traveled street, not necessarily a side street, but it looked like I wouldn't say it was like a main street, but it looked like a pretty well-traveled street, and I'm ripping through there. I believe I hit about 110 before I crested this hill. It was just a long, flat, straight street, and unbeknownst to me, once you crested that hill, it went down a little bit, and then it dead end into a church parking lot in a church. And the church was directly in front of when you cross that hill. And I don't know what the distance was, but I know I was going about 110. Came over the hill, and basically there's a church right in front of me. So I did what anybody would do and just locked it up. There was no escape route. The road turned into a parking lot almost immediately. The church was there. I mean, there was a little bit of distance, but it wasn't a windmill off in the distance. I think we're on 43 or something like that. Anyway, I come up over that hill at a high rate and locked her up. And luckily, I scrubbed off enough speed. Probably when I hit the curb that dead end into their grass, they had a lawn out in front of the church. So you come up over the hill, and there's a parking lot, and then a lawn, and then the church. And there was probably, I don't know, 30 feet between man, my ears are popping up in the hills for sure. Probably about 30 feet along before the building, and I hit that curb before the lawn. I had scrubbed off quite a bit of speed. I was probably only going about 25, maybe 30, and that thing launched me off the bike, end over end, and jacked my leg up. I probably went flying about 20 feet forward. I don't know what this is here. Some kind of, it's just a lodge. I thought maybe it was a lookout point or something. It's pretty busy. Everything's pretty busy up here. It's Saturday. It's a nice Saturday. So anyway, hit the curb. Bike went flying one way. I went flying the other. And luckily, I was only like I think 20 years old at the time, so still pretty young and bouncy. And anyway, I got up. My leg was messed up. I never went to the hospital. I probably should have went to the doctor. I think it was jacked up pretty good. Actually had to pick my leg up and down to get into the car with both my hands. But I don't think it was broke, I don't know. But there was definitely no bone sticking out, nothing like that. But it was definitely something was sprained or tore or whatever. And we're actually headed towards Harrison. This back roads route takes you 22 miles to Harrison. I think if you had that house, that kind of view you would have. Just kind of takes you through all the back roads to Harrison and back. It's a big loop. I think it's like 140 miles, something like that. I think we're just going to do that today, and then go to your Old Town Eureka, kind of look around the Old Town, historic part of it, walk around or whatever, and then call it a day. Probably do a little riding after that, and then gotta head back tomorrow. I'm not going to like hurry up and speed through the weekend, but I also want to relax a little bit and chill. So, I didn't know really where I was at when I wrecked the bike, so I had to pick the bike up. And actually, the bike, I think ended up being like $800 or $900 in damage to it, and but I could roll it back. It didn't start. I can't remember if something was wrong with the handlebars or what it was, but it wouldn't start. So I had to walk it back to my job. Tell my coworker I jacked this bike up. So that's the only time I ever wrecked a motorcycle. Real stupidity, flying down a side road, not knowing where you're at, and then come over a hill, there's a church. So I guess you could say I saw the face of God when I came over that hill. At that point, adrenaline just takes over. But so I ended up, he was pretty mad at me. He wouldn't sell me the bike. So I was just going to buy the bike, fix it myself, and he was mad. So I had just given him the money to fix it. But then a few months later, I got that CB360, which I was way too big for, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get on something to ride and get some practice in and get some mileage under my belt and stuff. I had never rode on a highway on a motorcycle or nothing like that, just all dirt bikes and stuff. So I was just wanting to get something to get back and forth to work, commute on, and get some practice in. So I got that, I want to say 72 or 73 CB360. It was blue. It was pretty nice bike. The guy had just restored it, and ran real good. Everything. It just was too small for me. So I rode her for a while, got comfortable on the highway and stuff, or at least as comfortable as you could get on a CB360. That thing would get blown around like crazy in the wind. But ended up finding a 74 CB550, which is quite a bit bigger, quite a bit more solid than the 360. Doesn't seem like it's that much difference, but it's a pretty big difference. I actually rode that 550 for years. I mean, there was years I'd run it 10 or 15,000 miles, which is kind of a lot in St. Louis. We don't have a year-round riding like a lot of southern places or whatever. So it was quite a bit of riding on that. I think I went through everything you can go through, pop chain off it, 100 miles from home one time. I busted the throttle cable, snapped on it at one point, the clutch cable snapped on it. I think I pretty much replaced anything you could replace on it at one point or another. It's a good bike. I mean, like I said, I back then, I rode those bikes so hard. We would race all the time, and my friend had he bought that 360 from me, and he outgrew that pretty quick too. And then he ended up getting a Kawasaki LTD 650 or something like that. And me and him would race up and down. We'd go over Illinois. Illinois didn't have helmet laws, so we'd go over there and take our helmets off and fly up and down Route 3 and the farming roads and stuff. We were pretty stupid back then. A lot of racing, a lot of daredevil stuff that probably shouldn't have been doing. But by the grace of God, we got through it. And then we kept getting faster and faster bikes, and somehow we all survived. But he doesn't ride anymore. I'm actually the only person from that group that kept riding. But yeah, this is a really nice ride out here. I can see the definitely want to come back and spend more time here. Maybe spend 3 or 4 days. Like I said, we just came up here for their anniversary. I guess this is Compton. It's like Compton over there. So we're almost to Harrison. Probably 15 miles or so. I don't think I've ever been to Harrison. I used to drive a truck over the road, so I've been through Arkansas quite a bit, but not back here. You know, usually if you got a trailer, you're not on these kind of roads. You're usually on the main highways and stuff. Arkansas is kind of a small state anyway, so we would just, whenever I would ride through Arkansas on the big truck, I would just kind of like stay on the main highway. I don't even know if I ever delivered or dropped off in Arkansas. We had a terminal right next to Memphis. I think it was technically in Arkansas if I remember correctly, but it was considered the Memphis terminal. That's about the only time I ever stopped in Arkansas. It's a beautiful state. I've heard a lot about it. Like I said before, I'm an avid bicyclist. Supposedly there's some really good bicycling areas out here. And hearing about the motorcycling out here. It's kind of nice because Arkansas is not really that far from St. Louis, so I can just kind of hop on the motorcycle and come down here and check it all out.